Here's a truth that nobody wants to admit. People don't actually hate Sigma males because they're doing something wrong. They hate them because they're doing everything right, and it makes everyone else's choices look questionable by comparison. Think about it. When you walk into a room and you're not desperately trying to be noticed, when you achieve success without posting about it every 5 minutes, when you're completely content being alone, while others can't go 2 hours without social validation, that makes people uncomfortable. And when people are uncomfortable, they label it as hate. I've spent years studying the Sigma male archetype, working with high performers who embody these traits, and I can tell you this. The reasons people claim to hate Sigmas reveal far more about their own insecurities than any actual flaw in the Sigma mindset. Today, we're breaking down the 8 biggest reasons people say they hate Sigma males. But here's the twist. By the end of this video, you'll realize that each of these reasons is actually a strength that the mainstream simply can't comprehend. If you're a Sigma male or aspiring to develop these traits, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is dedicated to men who refuse to follow the crowd, who build their empires quietly, and who understand that real power doesn't need to announce itself. We're building a community of independent thinkers, and your subscription tells the algorithm to show this content to more men who are tired of the mainstream narrative. Let's dive into why your independence intimidates the masses. 1. Their radical independence threatens the system. Marcus was a brilliant software engineer who turned down a promotion to management 3 times, not because he couldn't do it, but because he understood that promotion was a golden cage designed to lock him into a system that would consume his time, freedom, and autonomy. This is radical independence. And this is why it terrifies people. Society operates on a simple principle. Interdependence creates control. When you need your boss's approval, you behave. When you need social validation, you conform. When you need the crowd's acceptance, you self-censor. Then the Sigma walks in and breaks this equation completely. He doesn't need the promotion because he's building his own business. He doesn't need social approval because he's content with his own company. He doesn't need to attend every networking event because his results speak louder than his presence. Here's what most people don't understand. The system can't function if everyone becomes truly independent. Modern society is built on consumption, validation-seeking, and hierarchical control. Companies need employees competing for titles. Social media needs users craving likes. The economy needs consumers buying things to impress others. When a Sigma opts out of these games entirely, he's not just making a personal choice, he's exposing that the game is optional. And nothing threatens a system more than proof you don't need it. A Sigma starts a business and refuses investors because he doesn't want to answer to anyone. Competitors mock him, saying he'll never scale. 5 years later, he's profitable, debt-free, and sleeps soundly while they struggle with board meetings and venture capital pressure. Or the Sigma who gets invited to every social gathering but only shows up to ones that genuinely interest him. People call him antisocial, but he's just honest enough to admit he doesn't want to spend 3 hours making small talk when he could be working on his craft or enjoying his own company. This radical independence manifests everywhere. The Sigma doesn't need a relationship to feel complete, so he won't tolerate toxicity just to avoid being alone. He doesn't need family approval for career choices, so he'll pursue the unconventional path. He doesn't need friends to validate decisions, so he'll make difficult choices others fear. And here's where the hate comes in. When people see someone who genuinely doesn't need them, doesn't need the system, doesn't need validation, it forces them to confront an uncomfortable question: why do I need all these things? That question is terrifying because the answer might reveal they've built their entire life around seeking approval from people and systems that don't actually care about them. The Sigma becomes a walking reminder that dependency is a choice, not a requirement. Every time he succeeds without playing the game, every time he's happy without seeking validation, every time he thrives in independence, he's proving that the social contract everyone else signed was optional. Corporate environments struggle with Sigmas. They can't be controlled with usual levers. Threaten to fire them. They've got backup plans and savings, offer a raise for longer hours. They value time more than money. Office politics. They're immune because they don't need to be liked. Marcus eventually left that tech company and started his own consulting firm. Works 4 days a week, earns twice what he made before, answers to nobody. His former colleagues still talk about him, never positively. They call him lucky, antisocial, arrogant. But behind that hate is simple truth. His radical independence showed them their golden handcuffs were self-imposed. The system needs you to believe you need it. The Sigma's greatest threat is simply proving that you don't. 2. They refuse to play social games. There's a scene that plays out everywhere. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment. Everyone laughs nervously. The unspoken rule, laugh along, deflect, keep the peace. This is the social game. Then the Sigma male simply doesn't play. Jake worked in marketing. His crime? He didn't engage in office gossip. When colleagues pulled him aside to talk behind someone's back, he'd say, "If there's an issue, talk to them directly," and walk away. When his manager tried guilt manipulation, "We're all a family here," Jake responded, "We're colleagues with a professional relationship." He wasn't rude. He simply refused to pretend, and that refusal was treated like war. Social games aren't casual interactions. They're elaborate systems of control and hierarchy maintenance. When you play, you're participating in a structure that keeps everyone in their designated role. The Sigma sees through this and wants no part of it. The classic workplace scenario. The boss makes a terrible decision. Everyone nods along praising it. The social game says support publicly, complain privately. The Sigma? He'll raise his hand and ask difficult questions right there. This creates instant resentment. The boss feels challenged. Colleagues feel exposed because they didn't have courage to speak up. The Sigma becomes not a team player. Corporate code for doesn't follow unspoken rules. Or dating dynamics. The social game dictates an elaborate dance. Wait 3 days to text. Act jealous to show you care. Play hard to get. The Sigma finds this exhausting and pointless. If he's interested, he says so. If something bothers him, he addresses it directly. No games, no manipulation, no psychological warfare. And women often hate this because it removes their ability to use emotional leverage and social scripts. I've seen Sigmas accused of being too direct or lacking emotional intelligence simply because they won't engage in indirect communication theater. A woman says, "I'm fine," but her tone screams otherwise. The beta male spends hours guessing what's wrong. The Sigma says, "You say you're fine, so I'll take you at your word. Let me know if you want to talk," and continues his day. Is he insensitive? No. He's refusing a game where saying what you mean is rude, but expecting mind reading is normal. Social games extend everywhere. Family gatherings where everyone pretends, despite unresolved issues. Friend groups where nobody addresses elephants in rooms. Professional networks where handshake quality matters more than work quality. The Sigma disrupts all this by operating on one principle: authenticity over politics. He won't laugh at jokes he doesn't find funny, won't attend events he has no interest in, won't engage in elaborate gift-giving rituals to prove worth, won't participate in groupthink to avoid being odd. This refusal creates unique hatred, because it's not about what the Sigma does, it's what he doesn't do. He doesn't provide expected responses that keep social machinery running smoothly. Jake eventually left that company. Exit interview feedback: not aligned with company culture, meaning he wouldn't pretend toxic behavior was acceptable. 6 months later, he was running his own successful agency with clients who valued straight talk over corporate theater. The people who hated him for not playing, they're still playing, still exhausted, still feeling inauthentic. The Sigma didn't refuse because he couldn't understand the rules. He refused because he understood them perfectly and saw they were designed to control, not create value. When you stop playing social games, you stop being predictable. And unpredictable people can't be controlled. That's the real reason behind the hate. 3, their silence is mistaken for arrogance. Picture a conference room, 10 people around a table. 9 of them are talking, debating, interrupting each other, competing to be heard. The 10th person sits quietly listening, observing, saying nothing. After 30 minutes, he speaks once, 3 sentences. The entire conversation shifts. That's the Sigma male, and those 9 people will walk out of that meeting calling him arrogant. I've witnessed this dynamic hundreds of times, and it never ceases to amaze me how silence is interpreted as superiority rather than what it actually is: strategic observation. Let me tell you about David, a Sigma male who joined a startup as a senior developer. His first team meeting was a disaster, according to everyone else. The team spent an hour discussing different approaches to a technical problem. David said nothing. When the meeting ended, someone sarcastically asked, "David, do you even have opinions? Or are you just here to collect a paycheck?" David's response was classic Sigma. "I was listening. I'll have a proposal ready tomorrow." The next day, he presented a solution that incorporated the best ideas from the meeting, eliminated the weaknesses everyone had argued about, and added innovations nobody had considered. It was brilliant, and the team resented him for it. Why? Because his silence made them uncomfortable, and his subsequent competence made that discomfort feel like judgment. Here's the thing about silence that most people don't understand. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the person who listens holds all the power. The Sigma male knows this instinctively. While others are rushing to prove their intelligence by speaking, he's gathering information. While they're interrupting each other to dominate the conversation, he's identifying patterns. While they're performing for validation, he's actually solving the problem. But our society has taught us that silence equals either ignorance or arrogance. If you're not constantly contributing to the noise, you must either have nothing to say or believe you're too good to engage. The possibility that someone might simply prefer observation to performance doesn't compute for most people. I've seen this play out in social settings too. A Sigma male at a party, standing to the side, watching the dynamics unfold. He's not antisocial. He's reading the room, understanding who's genuine, who's performing, what the real power structures are. But the person who's been talking non-stop for 20 minutes will eventually confront him. "You know, you haven't said much. Do you think you're better than everyone here?" The irony is thick. The person who's been monopolizing every conversation, ensuring they're the center of attention, is accusing the quiet observer of arrogance. This misinterpretation of silence runs deep in human psychology. We're tribal creatures, and in tribal settings, silence can signal disapproval or disengagement. When someone doesn't participate in the group's verbal bonding rituals, it triggers a threat response. If he's not with us, he must be against us. If he's not talking, he must be judging. The Sigma male's silence is actually the opposite of arrogance. It's humility, disguised as confidence. He's secure enough to not need to prove himself in every interaction. He's confident enough to let his actions speak louder than his words. He's wise enough to know that listening teaches you more than talking. Think about the truly arrogant people you know. Are they silent? No. They're the ones dominating every conversation, talking over others, constantly reminding everyone of their achievements. Real arrogance is loud. The Sigma's silence isn't arrogance, it's economy of effort. I worked with a Sigma male named Chen, who was a master negotiator. His tactic in high-stakes business deals: say as little as possible. Let the other party fill the silence with their anxieties, their real motivations, their bottom line. While they were talking themselves into a worse position, he was simply listening and taking mental notes. His opponents would leave these meetings furious, claiming he was arrogant, that he thought he was too important to engage. The reality? He respected the negotiation enough to approach it strategically rather than emotionally. His silence wasn't dismissive, it was tactical. But here's where it gets interesting. The people who hate the Sigma's silence are usually the ones who are most uncomfortable with their own thoughts. They need constant external stimulation, constant validation through conversation, constant proof that they exist through verbal interaction. When they encounter someone who's perfectly comfortable in silence, it forces them to confront their own inability to be alone with themselves. The Sigma's quiet confidence becomes a mirror reflecting their own insecurity, and they hate what they see. There's also a power dynamic at play. In most social structures, the person who talks the most is perceived as the leader. The Sigma male disrupts this by demonstrating that real leadership doesn't require constant vocalization. His occasional contributions carry more weight than others' constant chatter, and this upends the traditional hierarchy. David stayed at that startup for 2 years. His code was flawless, his solutions were innovative, and his presence was calming during crises. But in team surveys, he consistently received feedback that he was unapproachable and seemed to think he was above the team. The people giving this feedback, they were the ones whose buggy code he silently fixed at 2 a.m. so the product launch wouldn't fail. The Sigma male's silence isn't a statement about others. It's a statement about himself. It says, I'm comfortable enough with who I am that I don't need to constantly announce my presence. I'm confident enough in my abilities that I don't need to perform them verbally. I'm secure enough in my value that I don't need your validation through conversation. But most people will never understand this. They'll continue to mistake his silence for arrogance because accepting the alternative, that he's simply operating on a different frequency, would require them to question their own need for constant noise. The Sigma knows this, and he remains silent anyway. 4. They don't seek validation or approval. Marcus sold his company for 8 figures. He told 3 people, his lawyer, his accountant, and his father. No LinkedIn announcement. No celebration post. Nothing. 6 months later, a colleague discovered the news and confronted him. Why didn't you tell anyone? Marcus's response, the people who mattered already knew. This is the Sigma's relationship with approval. He genuinely doesn't need it, and people hate him for it. Our entire social media ecosystem is built on validation seeking. Every post is a bid for approval. We've created a digital economy where human worth is measured in likes and comments. The Sigma opts out entirely, making people question the currency they've been desperately collecting. Alex never participated in elaborate performance reviews. He simply did excellent work. His colleagues spent hours crafting narratives and networking. Promotion time came. Alex got promoted 2 levels while they got standard raises. The resentment was immediate. He doesn't even try, and he gets rewarded. But management noticed that while everyone performed their value, Alex actually created it. Here's the counterintuitive truth. The less you need approval, the more it flows to you. And the more it flows while you remain indifferent, the more others resent you. Think about your last accomplishment. Your first thought was probably who you'd tell. The Sigma's first thought is, what's next? The achievement is personal satisfaction, not social proof. People can't attack what isn't there. You can't accuse someone of bragging when they don't mention achievements. So they attack the absence itself, calling it arrogance, because admitting he simply doesn't need what they've built their self-worth upon is too threatening. By not seeking validation, the Sigma gains a strategic advantage. He operates in silence, moves in shadows, and wins while others craft announcements of their intentions. 5. Their success comes without self-promotion. Robert had been with the company 5 years, quietly delivering exceptional results. When the CEO asked who was behind the operational improvements that saved millions, nobody knew. Robert's response when commended: "I was just doing my job." The other executives were furious. They'd spent years perfecting their personal brands. Robert had accomplished more than all of them without saying a word. This is what drives careerists insane. Success without self-promotion. Modern culture demands you be excellent at talking about your work. Perfect LinkedIn, strategic networking, personal branding. The Sigma asks, what if I use that energy to do better work instead? James runs a private equity fund with returns that consistently beat the market. Google his name. You'll find almost nothing. His competitors are everywhere. Podcasts, books, social media. They've built massive brands around returns that don't match his. They hate him because his existence proves their self-promotion is unnecessary. A marketing director spent years building her brand, speaking, articles, social media. She was the industry face. Then a Sigma joined her team. He skipped conferences and just ran campaigns, generating triple the ROI. When promotion time came, the Sigma moved up. She was devastated. She'd done everything right, but actual results beat performed competence. The Sigma's success scales infinitely because he's not wasting energy on impression management. While others' perfect profiles, he's perfecting his craft. Robert eventually became COO. Still no LinkedIn, still no speeches. The executives who spent years self-promoting now work for him. The Sigma understands. In the long run, reality beats perception. You can manage your image temporarily, but you can't fake results forever. 6. They expose the fakeness in others. Daniel joined a creative agency that prided itself on being cutting edge. Everyone dressed in expensive streetwear, discussed obscure art, claimed to push boundaries. The work? Safe, corporate, predictable. Daniel showed up in normal clothes, skipped the cultural peacocking, and produced genuinely innovative work. His authenticity revealed everyone else was performing creativity rather than being creative. They hated him for it. His work won them 3 major accounts, but his authenticity made their performance look like a costume. The Sigma is a mirror reflecting what's real. Most people don't like what they see. In workplaces, people perform enthusiasm for projects they don't believe in, fake alignment with failing strategies, pretend to like colleagues they can't stand. It's theater. As long as everyone plays along, the illusion holds. The Sigma won't play. When asked about a terrible idea, he says it won't work and explains why. When the team pretends excitement, he stays neutral. His refusal doesn't just contrast with fakeness, it reveals it. I watched this destroy a friendship circle. 6 people met regularly, sharing curated life versions. Struggling marriages became stronger than ever. Then one became Sigma. He stopped pretending. Marriage is hard. We're working through it. This honesty spread. Everyone dropped their masks. What they found was uncomfortable. Years of maintaining images. The group fell apart. The Sigma was blamed for negativity, but he'd been authentic. Authenticity revealed their friendship was built on performance. A woman spent an hour crafting the perfect casual look. The Sigma showed up comfortable and talked about what he actually cared about. She later said, "He made me realize how exhausting dating is. I was trying so hard, and he was just being himself." The Sigma isn't trying to expose fakeness. He's simply being himself, and fakeness becomes visible in proximity to authenticity. It's like turning on a light where people wear masks. Suddenly everyone sees them clearly. Daniel left and started his own studio. His work wins awards. The agency still performs innovation while producing mediocrity, talking about him with resentment. He didn't fit a culture built on performance. His refusal exposed the culture was all performance and no substance. 7. They can't be manipulated or controlled. Michael's manager, Sarah, was a master manipulator, withholding information, alternating praise and criticism, creating competition, leveraging social pressure. It worked for years until Michael. Sarah excluded him from meetings expecting anxiety. Michael did his work and asked directly when needed. She alternated praise and nitpicking. He thanked her without needing it and ignored petty criticism. She tried isolating him socially. He stayed cordial while not caring if they liked him. Within 6 months, Sarah was unraveled. Michael was uncontrollable, not defiant, just serenely indifferent. Most control relies on people needing approval, belonging, validation, status, security. The Sigma has minimized these needs. He approves of himself. He's comfortable alone. His self-worth is internal. Chris's girlfriend tried manufactured drama. Maybe we need a break. Chris: okay, if that's what you need. Her: wait, you're just going to let me go? Chris: you're an adult. If you need space, take it. The manipulation failed because Chris wasn't afraid of losing the relationship. The Sigma's principle: no relationship, job, or situation is worth more than his autonomy. Live by this consistently, you become uncontrollable. Corporations struggle with Sigmas. Withhold raises? He lives below his means. Dangle promotions? He's not interested. Create competition? He's not competing. Sarah eventually moved departments. Michael got more autonomy. People watched in awe as someone simply opted out. The Sigma's immunity reveals everyone else's compliance is a choice. The Sigma doesn't preach resistance. He simply lives making control impossible. Proving others' controllability is self-imposed. Controlled people hate proof their chains are unlocked. 8. Their self-sufficiency makes others uncomfortable. Nathan attended a dinner party. The host orchestrated everything. While everyone performed, Nathan observed contentedly, contributed briefly, left early. The host was furious. He acted like he didn't need us. Exactly. His self-sufficiency made the social choreography feel unnecessary. This is why people hate Sigmas. Their self-sufficiency reminds everyone that dependence is a choice. Jordan was a software engineer who'd built alternative income. When his manager tried control through paycheck leverage, it didn't work. Unreasonable hours? Jordan said, no. Job threats? He'd be fine either way. His manager to HR: Jordan doesn't act like he needs this job. His self-sufficiency made him uncontrollable. Eric is genuinely happy alone, content, fulfilling hobbies and projects. Friends try setting him up, family worries. Because society believes humans need partnership to be complete. Eric's contentment threatens that belief. Alex attended friend group meetings occasionally, often declined without FOMO. One confronted him. Don't you feel lonely? Alex: I enjoy our conversations, but I also enjoy solo projects. I don't experience loneliness alone because I like my own company. They felt insulted, but he valued them as enrichment to an already fulfilling life. His appreciation without dependency felt threatening. When someone doesn't need what you need, it triggers a question. Am I dependent on these things, or taught to believe I am? Person seeking validation encounters content alone Sigma. Am I lonely because I'm alone, or because I've never learned to be comfortable with myself? Jordan left that job, not fired, but because it became optional. Former colleagues talk about him with resentment and envy. They're stuck in jobs they need. He's building what he wants. The Sigma's self-sufficiency means, I've built a life where I can thrive alone. Every connection is genuine choice, not desperate need. Every relationship is appreciation, not dependency. Every commitment is desire, not necessity. This threatens the dependent world. If connections are choices, people must earn your presence through value rather than leverage your dependency. The Sigma's self-sufficiency isn't rejection. It's insistence that relationships be voluntary, appreciative, enriching. To a world built on need, choice looks like rebellion. So there you have it. 8 reasons people claim to hate Sigma males, and every single one of them is actually a compliment in disguise. When people say they hate your independence, what they're really saying is, I wish I had the courage to walk my own path. When they criticize your silence, they mean, I'm uncomfortable that I can't read you or control you. When they attack your refusal to seek validation, they're admitting, I'm enslaved to other people's opinions, and your freedom reminds me of my chains. Here's what I want you to understand. The Sigma male path isn't about being hated. It's about being misunderstood by those who've never questioned the social programming they've been fed their entire lives. You're not their enemy. You're a mirror. And most people don't like what they see when they look at someone who's genuinely free. The question isn't whether people will hate you for being a Sigma. The question is, are you strong enough to stay true to yourself when the crowd demands you conform? Every man watching this video has a choice. You can dilute yourself to make others comfortable, or you can embrace the Sigma mindset and build a life of authentic power and independence. The first path leads to acceptance and mediocrity. The second path leads to freedom and excellence. Before you go, if this content resonated with you, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We're building something different here, a space for men who think independently, act strategically, and refuse to apologize for their success. The mainstream won't tell you these truths, but we will. Every single week, we're dropping videos that will sharpen your mindset and strengthen your resolve. The Sigma path isn't easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Stay strong, stay independent, and remember, their hate is just fear wearing a different mask. I'll see you in the next video.